This is the story of an incredible young man called Brand Shovlar, who has made such a massive impact on people's lives in a very short time. Brand was a huge Warhammer 40k fan when he was diagnosed with Rhabdomysarcoma. Warhammer fans from around the world showed their support to Brand and his family. Brand had his own rune insignia, which was a cross with bent ends. I was truly moved by the moment of open love and support being shown by so many strangers. It really was humbling to see everyone come together as one Warhammer family. A Facebook page was created called Brand's Great Company, and photos of models with Brand's insignia painted on them started to be shown. T-shirts with Brand's cross on were made. Flags, pauldron shoulder drapes, games table decoration, key fobs, and even a tattoo were being made in honor of this plucky young man from England. It was so cool to see so many people get behind Brand and his family in such a difficult time in their lives. Brand's Great Battle. Nearly 2 weeks before Brand's service, a Remembrance Day of Brand was arranged on Sunday, the 15th of April at Firestorm Games, Cardiff. The amazing team at Firestorm Games willingly gave a large space for the games to take place. Andrew Perkins, Brand's stepfather, addressed all who attended with a welcoming speech. It was a good turnout, and it gave me the opportunity to talk to Brand's family for the first time.
Hi guys, once again I'd like to thank you all for turning up, making this a special event. When Brand first got diagnosed, it was around about the time that he got interested into 40k. The 40k community have been amazing, and all these Space Marines that you see in front of you here, these Space Wolves, were donated by the 40k Society. I wanted to do this before the tragic events of last week. Unfortunately, snow got the better of us, which is ironic really, because he was Space Wolves. So we decided that this needed to go on in memorial of him. Dyfrig and Eve have been absolutely fantastic. The Iron Warrior and Eve have been absolutely fantastic. And the guys at Firestorm Games as well have been absolutely fantastic. And we'd like to thank you all for letting this event happen here today. And that's it. So, the order of play that we're thinking of is we do it in factions. So the Empire, Chaos, Tau, me, the Smurfs, if you like, and the Orc faction over in the over on the far side. If we do it in factions, all the faction move together, so all of a faction move together, it'll cut the time down rather than each individual doing their move and then moving on. Everyone happy with that? Respawn. If at some point you're down to 0 points, take a time out, you can come back in. You know, reinforcements are allowed to arrive. Everyone happy with everything? Let the games commence. For Bran! For Bran!
Welcome to this massive game in honour of Brand, the Battle of Brand. We have got several factions here today with a large number of power level and points that we are just going for a free-for-all, going towards the Space Wolf stronghold. The Chaos, Tau, Eldar and Orcs are all piling up to try and take out the Imperial scum. First of all, the first round is going to the Imperial Wolves, the Imperial Fists and Dark Eldar. And they're starting off and start their advance.
Brand's Warhammer 40k Wolflord power suit. an incredible group of people from America came together to create an amazing Warhammer 40K Wolflord power suit. And here you will now see the unveiling of it by Dave Lee.
Alright, so this is the reveal of Bran's armor, but let me give you a little backstory of what we've done. So about 7 or 8 months ago, I was on a Warhammer 40K group on Facebook, and I came across a post where a guy named Alan Odinson had posted about his nephew could use some words of encouragement because he was going into cancer treatment. And so this is a 12-year-old kid named Brand Shovlar. And, and I saw the post and I was like, well, I made a post, your typical good luck and fight hard, whatever. And then it stuck with me. And say what you want about Facebook algorithms, it kept popping up in my feed, different things related to him. And so I really kind of took it as a sign of like getting involved. And what the Warhammer 40K community was doing was, if you're not familiar with it, it's a tabletop game. The figures are about so, and they actually cost more than a whole suit to make. That's a Warhammer joke. Like the guys that paint the figures and play the game will always come up to you in the suit and go, wow, I bet that's half as much as I have invested in my army. So, and so those guys and gals were painting his chapter, which was Space Wolves. And they were painting figures and sending them to him and his family. And so he got all of this encouragement. And it's people from all over England, where he's from. It was people from all over the U.S., there was people from Russia, Italy, France, Germany, Sweden. I mean, it got to the point where I was looking for countries that weren't involved because it just spread like wildfire. People were sending him stuff. There were artists who were painting pictures of him in armor, and then I saw one of these pictures and I said, you know what? He's getting ready to go into, or he's in the fight of his life. He needs to have, even if it's just symbolic, armor to protect him in this fight. And so I had just built a couple suits for my wife and my daughter, and I was getting more versed with working with EVA foam, and so I put a thing out saying, I'm going to make him his chapter a Wolf Lord suit for him to wear. And then people would contact me and say, well, how can I help? And I said, well, the materials are expensive, so I put up a list, and it was close to $1,000 worth of stuff. And within a day and a half, all of that list was empty. And I couldn't even keep track of who bought it because Amazon wouldn't give me that info. But there, people from Paris or from Romania were like, I bought something, good luck. What's that?
New Zealand as well.
In New Zealand as well, yes. And so our group, when we were talking about this show, we decided this was something that we wanted to make an episode. So we waited because as he was going through treatment, he was responding to chemo really, really well. And it went from, not very optimistic to, hey, everything's going to be great. So we had time. And we were waiting for networks to say, yes, this is a real TV show, not a wooden puppet in Geppetto's shop. It's actual real boy now. And we were waiting for that. And then we're still waiting for that. And then his uncle sent me a message, and he said, hey, he had a seizure the other day. This was on a Tuesday morning. He said he had a seizure last night. They did a scan, and they found tumors in his brain. And he's not going to make it. And so we, as Hat Cross Steampunk, we said, well, crap, he needs his suit now. And so we started cracking, and that was basically, I think April 1st or April 2nd. I was hoping it was a really cruel April 1st joke, but it wasn't. And so we started working around the clock. If you've ever worked with Pepakura, it's kind of a pain in the butt. And the Pepakura files had to be sized to a 5'8" 12-year-old. So tall, lanky. I wanted it to fit right. I wanted, and so we worked around the clock. Joe is a manager of a store for ComServe, and he worked the schedule around so that he could drive from Charlottesville to Gloucester, where we live in Virginia. Mike is an actual airship commander for the Department of Homeland Security. He made time. Everybody just kind of jumped in and started working on this, and we started on a Thursday night, and we worked basically until Tuesday to get mostly done. And then I realized that there was just no way we could get it in that amount of time. But as we were started on that Thursday night, I woke up Saturday morning. We were going into the shop to continue working, and I got the thing from his uncle. Excuse me. That said, sadly, Bran passed. So, his parents said, well, you don't have to go through all this effort to make it because obviously he's never going to wear it. And I was like, no, we're going to finish it. He has a 3-year-old brother who will someday, literally, figuratively, grow into it, and he'll have a part of his brother that he didn't know. Sorry. So this is that suit. It is now complete. We're going to be sending it to England next week. Cut! No. Sorry.
So while Dave composes himself, we put a lot of love and time and effort into this. And if you look at this, Dave's dad used a Dremel tool, or basically a high class Dremel tool, and hand did all of the intricate runes and the interlacing and the pictures of Odin. His whole suit has been personalized, and then since every wolf lord goes into battle with a wolf, I made a wolf pelt for it to go across with the eyes that light up. And this has been finished so that if it had been a real wolf and a real pelt, it's lined and it's got hand stitching holding the line to the actual pelt. So we wanted to make sure that this was not a half-baked job, but that it was representative of the fight and the courage and the bravery of this young man trying to fight against insurmountable odds, and his inspiration was very powerful to me. Is that he's inspired people around the world who've never met him, who have spent time and have come forth and poured forth love to his family and to his brother, and it's amazing to me in this time, in this country where we seem to be against each other and choosing sides. Here is a worldwide community coming together to show commitment to something good and to try to bolster up fellow human beings, and that's important, and it needs to be celebrated and acknowledged. So that's what we're doing here.
And there's a really great organization called Latch. I'm not sure what LATCH stands for, but it's an organization there in Wales that helps the family members. Like they're taking time off, they're round the clock with them, and so they're trying to stay in hotel rooms and stuff. And this from Dorothy and Sari, their mom and stepmom, they were telling me over and over again how amazing this organization was and helpful to them in the whole thing. So it's also I think important to mention the people who on a daily basis help folks going through nightmares like this. And I also wanted to point out a couple people too that donated pieces to this. So there is a gentleman who is a professor. He sent me his actual title, and all I remember writing back was, "Damn, that's fancy." But he's an incredible machinist. He can make anything. His name is Jeff Church. He's a professor at Appalachian State University, and he made this hammer. I painted it for him, but this is really cool because in one flip of the switch, you have lights, and this is like a big foam yoga block. It's amazing. If you flip the switch the other direction, you get a whole different effect. You get the sound effect from a little speaker up here, and I just thought that was amazing. You have this pelt that Mike took and Sherry, his wife, and Sue. I said Sherry, his wife.
That's right.
Wow, I did that. Sue, his wife, and Sherry, his wife's best friend,
Who is also fighting cancer.
yes, donated their time to make this pelt. We have Lori Fueling, who is a leather worker who made the skull for the belt. The belt itself, even though most of it is covered up, has all of these runes carved into it by a leather worker named Doc Stone, Wheeler Stone, who makes this really expensive high-end leather stuff. In a day, he worked nonstop, made this belt, sent it to me express, and I had it ready for the site. If you see these purity seals in the Warhammer world are kind of like blessings for and acknowledgments. Well, there's a lot stacked here, and then another one on the back. And what these are a lot of the people who were part of that community. These are their own personal messages to him or his family, and with their name and where they're from. And so there's 2 batches of this, and then one in the back that we did, so that their stuff would be a part of the armor. I have been told that it's going to potentially go to this exhibit in the Games Workshop, which makes Warhammer, headquarters. So telling Brand's story, because this is just one piece of it. There's tens of thousands of dollars worth of those figures that have been painted for on books. People who write for the Black Library came and visited him in the hospital and gave him autographed books. So it was really an amazing testament to humanity. I think that stuff like this can still happen. So I want to thank you all, and I want to ask you, I said there was some audience participation. I didn't mean crying. Every time I would see you, I'd be like, "Ah, stop it." And that is, there was a little hashtag thing that all of the posts about Brand, there's hashtag howl for Brand, because Space Wolves howl. So I wanted to get on camera, if you don't mind, all of us doing as loud and ferocious of a howl as you can. On the count of three, we'll howl for Brand, please. 1, 2, 3.
Space wolf factions from around the world. Eric Lobb of Pennsylvania went out of his way to create a map of the world with miniature wolf head icons depicting the locations of various Space Wolves factions. Another kind gesture was from Mike Rogenbuck from Port Angeles, Washington, who wrote this amazing passage. The Iron Priests of Fenris sat around the work table. On it lie a suit of ornate runic power armor. Chief among them, Rorik, unleashed a disappointed sigh. A shame that we forged this armor for a funeral, not a battle. The statement was met with murmured agreement. There it sat, the armor of the Wolf Lord Brand Saberwolf. A legend among the wolves, now gone. The entire chapter was shaken by the news, and as Fenris opened its starports to ships from all variety of Space Marine chapters, Imperial delegation, and Astra Militarum battle groups, the wolves prepared to send one of their own off, covered in the finely wrought runes of ancient Fenrisian script, and emblazoned with Bran's personal sigil. It was armor fit for a great wolf, a primarch even. And it would ride with Bran to the afterlife. The armor was almost complete, but the Council of Iron Priests appointed to it could not determine the last piece. That was for Logan Grimnar to provide. The great wolf entered the forge as Rorik and his compatriots rose to greet him. The final piece, Grimnar grunted, holding forth the wolf pelt that usually rested on his tactical dreadnought armor. The priest took the pelt with near reverence, affixing it to the armor. A data screen clicked and beeped. Rorik leaned over to look upon it. The machine spirit of the armor had been appeased. It is ready to return to his master. A few words from Diffrig Griffiths. Brand was sat up in his hospital bed when I stomped through the door, and I will never forget the look on his face. I kept my helmet on, as this was the first time I had ever visited a child in the hospital. I started getting choked up, and felt that I was going to let go. I had to hold it in and show Brand that I was strong and there for him. I don't even know where to start with Brand. He had the single most amazing attitude I had ever come across, and his sense of humor was epic. I felt like I had known Brand and his family for years. When we all spoke at the hospital, when we talked online, or even over the phone, it felt like we were family and that nothing was held back. The realization hit me, and hit me hard, that I wasn't just going to visit a sick young boy at the hospital. I had become a part of his family, and he became a big part of mine. I dedicated hours and hours to sharing the video and getting the message out there that a young boy who was a huge fan of 40K needed our help and support. That's where the group came into it. Brand's great company. I was honored to be added to the group and made admin after my visit. And wow! I was shocked to see the posts in the group. Nothing but kind words, planning and negotiations going on about what we could do to support Brand and his amazing family. Nothing meant more to me and making sure Brand had everything he needed to get through this. Turns out I wasn't the only one. 1,527 people and counting came to Brand's aid. People from all over the world flocked to his page to donate, make, send, and just give support to this amazing boy who was battling cancer. March 5th, 2018. No more chemo for Brand. Everyone celebrated, and I couldn't have been happier with the news. I spoke to Rob about it, and he was over the moon. Brand got to go home. The group celebrated and continued to support him in his recovery. Models were painted, props made, even a full suit of Space Wolf armor is being made. The support from strangers all over the world coming together for a boy they have never met, for a family they didn't know, is the most beautiful thing I have had the honor of being a part of. Sadly, at 11:45 a.m., Saturday, April 7, 2018, surrounded by his family, Brand passed away. I got the message at 12:03 while at a convention in Swansea. I broke down in tears to the confusion of all my friends. Brand meant more to me than most people thought. I had such an emotional attachment to him that I felt like he was my baby brother. We had plans to go stomping together at conventions once he got his power armor. It would have been great, Brand. You would have made such a kick-ass Marine mate. I know you're in a better place now. Valhalla called, and you answered. Love you, little guy. Stay safe, okay? The service. Diffrig was to lead Bran to his final resting place.
if everyone would like to be seated, thank you. There's more seats here if people want to come and sit down. We've got plenty of seats here. Please be comfortable for this. Come through and take seats. Thank you. On most of the seats you should find a small prayer that you'll need later on, okay? We are gathered here today at this time and in this place to bid a fond farewell to Brand, sometimes called the Young Wolf or the Great Wolf Lord by those that knew him in the gaming communities. As I look around this place, I'm simply speechless. I can see an amazing array of people from so many places and from so many backgrounds. From Vikings to 40k players and at least one very large and very pink princess. More on that story later. There is an amazing collection of people from the worlds that Bran loved, and you have all done this young warrior proud, and you have warmed the hearts of Bran's family, bringing joy and fun to this farewell of such a brave warrior. I see before me Bran's family, an amazing extended family that support each other, love each other, and whom are all here to bid farewell to their son, nephew, grandson, cousin and brother, who was such an inspiration to them all. I welcome you all here, and I know it means so much to Bran's family that you have come to say your goodbyes to this special lad. But also, by being here, you are showing your love and support for his family at a time when they need it most. For them to see us all here because of Brand will not make their grief any less, but hopefully it will show them how much Brand is loved by all here gathered, how much he has inspired us all, and how much he will be missed. And maybe, just maybe, the energy of our love will surround them and give them some comfort. On a personal note, I want to say a big heartfelt thank you to Kerry-Ann, who has helped me immensely when writing this farewell. She's allowed me to bombard her with questions at a time that has been so difficult for all. I know she's been an absolute rock to the entire family, and I happen to think she's rather ace. Today, we wish to celebrate the life of Brand, to give thanks for his life and the experiences that you shared with him, and to wish him well with our love and our blessings now that our time together is over. All the faiths of the world speak of another life after death. We don't know what that is, but we can hold on to the hope, the belief, or the knowledge of peace, rest, and fulfillment, and of people being reunited once more in love. We sit here, people from so many diverse backgrounds, all with a love of fantasy, history, other worlds, of battles fought and battles won, of great adventures embarked upon, of old gods and their stories, of living lives far from what is considered ordinary. All here are individuals with a love of the different, and I include myself in that. But today, we are all joined by one common thread, and that is Brand. Brand was a self-confessed atheist. However, I feel from talking to his family over the last week that he certainly gave a nod through his gaming to the old Norse gods. And this is why we are gathering here in this manner giving him a spectacular farewell with small elements of a Viking send-off. My own belief is that from a pagan background, more Celtic than Norse, but I believe in an afterlife, that when our souls depart this plane of existence, we are starting out on our next great adventure. And perhaps as someone who lived in different worlds through gaming in its various elements, Brand would like that idea. For me, death is but another journey, another horizon, another adventure. And for Brand, this journey is now beginning. But for us, those he has left behind, there is loss and grief and pain. Every one of us here has had our lives touched, perhaps in the tiniest way, or perhaps totally transformed by Bran's existence. We would not be here otherwise today, honouring all that he was to each and every one of us in this amazing and unique way. Bran's life mattered. Bran's life mattered a lot. It is important for us to acknowledge and accept that something fundamental has changed with his going. Life will not be the same, and life should not be the same. We have to find a way to adjust to a world where our son, brother, nephew, grandson, cousin, friend is no longer here with us, here in the physical form. But he will always be in our hearts, our memories, and our thoughts. Brand Thomas Robert Shovlar was born on the 14th of August 2005 to Ursula and to Rob. He has two stepbrothers from Ursula's first marriage, Alec and Leonard. Ursula met Andrew, who has a son, Harvey, another stepbrother to Brand. And when Carrie-Anne and Rob got together, Brand's family grew again, with Carrie-Anne's son, also called Harvey, Nanny Sharon and Grampy, Auntie Jo and Paige, uncles Carl and Danny, and his cousins Kira, Zane, Jess, and Imogen. Rob and Carrie-Anne then had their son Tommy, a half-brother for Brand. And there is also Rob's brother Alan, whom Brand was particularly close to. When Rob was away on exercise with his regiment, Alan would take Brand out to McDonald's. They'd build snowmen in the garden in the winter, and they would even headbang in the car to heavy metal music. He was special to Brand, doing those dad things with him when Rob was away. When Brand became ill, Alan felt helpless, as I'm sure all of his family did. And it was through Alan that the 40K became involved. Knowing that Bran was a massive fan, he went on to the 40K Facebook page and told them about Brand and asked if they could wish him luck and support him through his chemo. I don't think the family fully realised quite how much support Brand would get from these fantastic people. And more on that a little later also. When talking to Brand's family in preparation for today, I was struck by their steadfastness as a family. Although Ursula and Rob are no longer together and have other partners and children, the two families are strongly united. Throughout the various chats, I was struck by their friendship and support of one another. The two families have been friends right from the start, which has made such a difference in these difficult months. And the other thing that struck me whilst talking to these lovely people was the laughter. During our conversations, there was much laughter as they shared stories of Brand with me, helping me to have a glimpse of this young lad, helping me to see him as a living boy with a strong personality, a wicked sense of humour, and a sharp and bright mind with a shining intelligence. I felt that I would have liked Brand very much had I had the honour and the pleasure of knowing him. This big, wonderful family has lost an intrinsic member in Brand, but they have all come together in the face of this tragedy, and I believe they are now stronger than ever. So what was this lad like that has drawn us all together on this day and in this way? I am told he had a wonderful sense of justice and would hate to see bullying and would stand up for anyone he saw as being bullied or mistreated. There was a particular friend at school who has autism, and Bran looked after him and made sure he was okay at all times. He was an intelligent lad that read lots. His mum Ursula told me he would read entire encyclopedias. He was also an opinionated boy and thought everything through. For instance, he did not like learning Welsh in school. He called it flobberdob. His words, not mine. And one day, in Welsh language class, he closed his books and declared that he was never going to need or use this language. He refused to learn it and then walked out. I'm not quite sure what the teacher made of that, but it made me laugh when I heard it. There was also a time when Ursula found that Brand had a YouTube video on the account that he had made. She asked Rob to go through his phone, where Rob and Kerry-Ann found out that he had a Facebook account. Both of them told Bran to delete it, saying if your mother finds out, she's going to kill you. Nothing was ever said until after Brand had passed away. Everyone was all in the Latch Kitchen, which is the Welsh Children's Cancer Charity. And Alan asked what they were going to do about Brand's online accounts. Everybody looked at Alan and asked what was he on about. Alan then said that Brand had a Twitter account. He knew this because he was following Brand on it. It then came out about the previous accounts they had asked him to take down in front of Ursula, who had not known about any of them until that moment and certainly would not have approved. Everyone laughed, saying that it was a good job he wasn't here because his mother would have killed him. He was, as we can see, a typical teenager, although he would argue that at the tender age of 12, he was not a teenager, but a preteen. His family say that he was, however, 12 going on 50. He was perfect for his mum Ursula, but would often show his teenager side when at Rob and Kerry-Ann's, and play up in the typical way that youngsters do. But when threatened with telling his mum, he would often capitulate and behave. Boys and their mums. But he loved being with his dad and with Kerry-Ann, and as I have said throughout this farewell, Bran's family all got on and have a strong bond of friendship, and that's special. Now on to the very large and very pink princess in our midst. The family joke was to say to Rob, all 6'5" of him, I need a cup of tea. Go, slave. There would be a short pause, and then they would say, bitch. This was only ever said to Rob, or Rob would only ever say it to Brand. Then Brand would start calling Rob a princess. As time went on, Brand would call Rob a princess. He would pause. He would then look him in the eyes, and then he would add, bitch. So Rob became the Princess Bitch. It seems that Rob is honouring that title today. Brand, it seems, was a force to be reckoned with. On the 4th of September last year, after complaining of being unwell with headaches and muscle pain, Bran was diagnosed with a virulent type of cancer, rare in children. Rhabdomysarcoma, nearly did it in one. This news was devastating for him and of course for his family. But in the way this amazing family does, they all came together and they faced it as one. During his illness, Bran's strength of character and mind shone through, as it always had done. During his first bout of chemo, Brand was using the toilet a lot, and Rob was up and down all night, with Brand having to empty out his pans. Rob was knackered, and at one point he said, "I can't keep this up. My knees are killing me." Brand replied with total sympathy, "Oh, Daddy, are your knees hurting?" Rob said yes, and Brand once again looked his dad in the eyes and said, "Well, I have cancer. I win, bitch." Typical Brand. Another story Kerry Ann shared with me is one Christmas, Kerry and Rob had to go out and do some shopping and had asked Nanny Sharon to have Brand. When they returned, they asked if Brand was okay and if he'd been good. Nanny Sharon said, "Yes, he has, but I have to tell you, he made me laugh." Kerry and Rob both asked what he had done. Brand was known for being clumsy, and he had knocked something over and broken it. Nanny Sharon, being Welsh, would say "we," meaning I. She said to Brand, "You have two choices. We can either go shopping or we can do the ironing." Brand looked at Nanny Sharon and said, "I don't know how to iron, but I'll try." This story is still talked about in the family, and it's one that makes the family laugh. I think you've got many stories that make you all laugh, too many to recount here. Throughout his short illness, he would always want to show his strength, and he never wanted to appear weak. Rob and he often used to play rough and tumble when he was well, play fighting each other, and he was so annoyed when he could no longer do this. In hospital, he refused to use a bedpan and would walk assisted to the loo. Maintaining his independence as much as possible was important to this young warrior. I guess hospital irritated him immensely. At one point, Brand refused to talk to nurses or to doctors, to the point that when they walked in, he would stop talking. At this time, Latch was looking at giving iPads out to the children on the ward to help sidetrack the children or to keep them entertained while they were in bed. So Brand was their guinea pig, and it worked a treat. The first thing he did was to record himself saying, "Yes, no, go away, and wait until my mum gets back." The moment a nurse would walk in, he would go to his iPad and go straight to "go away," flashing the iPad at the nurses, not even looking at them. I think I can understand this from his point of view, that sometimes he must have just wanted to switch off from it all. In fact, he hated being in hospital, and each visit didn't want to be in there any longer than necessary. When he went in for his second bout of chemo, Bran had read up and researched rather thoroughly the Human Rights Act. He said that being made to stay in hospital was against his human rights, to which his mum Ursula replied, "I'm your mother and you are underage. I win, we stay." One of the most amazing stories from this sad times is the involvement of the 40K and indeed others like our Viking friends here. This was a big part of Bran's life and something he immersed himself in. I won't even pretend that I know anything about this group or what it is all about. But looking around, I see those people involved. How can I miss you all? And I want to say that you have all been bloody wonderful. Not only have you supported Brand when many of you do not know him, but you have supported his family. And I know that you have all raised money in support of his family, and in particular, the Welsh Children's Cancer Charity, Latch. People from all over the world have been involved, making key rings and t-shirts with Brand's binder rune on it, holding charity 4K games, and so many other ways too numerous to mention. Tributes from so many people from so many countries have been pouring in from Brand's great company on Facebook. And I think it's truly amazing. I know this has meant so much to Brand and his family, and I think you are all truly Brand's great company, and you have all stood together, shoulder to shoulder with Brand and his family at this sad time, and may the gods salute you all. We all have our memories of him, precious moments shared with him, all too suddenly taken from us. And now is a time when we can hear from some of those closest to him, his family. I know that we're going to hear from Rob, Alan and Dovrig, and I don't mind which way you want to do this, which order you want to go up in. Okay?
Involved in, Rob?
Oh, you'll find out. Thanks to Wowzer. Thanks for everybody who's come. Say a few words about Brand. I think it's only right. Bear with me, it might be a bit hard to get through, but it won't be too long. 14th of August 2005 at 6 minutes to 6 in the evening, Ursa gave birth to Brand. I was the first one to hold him. I cut his cord, changed his first nappy. There was a lot of firsts I've managed to do in his life. But if I could sum it up with anything I could possibly do, you may have guessed, is stubborn. He was the most stubborn person I've ever known. From making number twos in his nappy to the dummy issue. At one stage, I was sleeping on a mattress in the bathroom with a baby monitor by my head and waking up every 10 or 15 minutes to put the dummy back in his mouth because he wouldn't stop screaming for it. Getting on to adult food, that was difficult. He'd rather go to bed hungry than try to eat what me and his mother were eating. Going on days out, he didn't want to go days out. He wanted to stay in, play with his toys, watch TV, read his books. He hated going out. When we got to where we were going, he had fun, but it's just the travelling he didn't want to do. As was mentioned, he was a perfect little boy for his mum. He'd do anything for her. When he come to us, he was just enter the teenage mode. He'd complain about doing the washing up. Actually, short done version of the story, Kerry asked him to do the washing up. She ran the water in the tap. This is a few months before we got diagnosed. And he said, if I touch this water, I'm going to get cancer, and slowly slid his finger down to the water. Yeah. It was awkward. He didn't show his emotions that much to me and his mum, but me and Kerry, but he loved Kerry, and I know he loved me. So he got in trouble for fighting at school, found out, he didn't want to talk about it, he told us later he was fighting because someone else was picked on. Always told him never started, but always finish it, and he did. When he was little, his favourite food was what he used to call yummy holes. And then later on became sausage yummy holes. And his last food he ate was sausage rolls. And I've got to give him one to go with. I miss him terribly already, and I always will. 11:45 on the 7th of April 2018. His mother was with him, his stepmum, his stepfather, his uncle and me were all with him, all telling him we love him. I had my hand in his chest as I felt his heart stop and fade away. His suffering stopped then. He was no longer in pain. He fought as hard as any person on this earth has ever fought. Us in the forces who've served, seen some things, seen some bravery. I've never seen any bravery like displayed by my son. And the sense of humour he kept throughout it as well. And that's it. I can't carry on. Thank you.
Yeah, to the bros.
Unlike Rob, I haven't prepared a speech. You have to bear with me too. I never see, with Rob being in the army, I never see Brand as much as I would have liked. But we had a bond, and it was one that hit me hard when he had cancer. Didn't know what to do. I sprung into action, put a message on the 40k, and pretty much Duff Rigger's taken over everything, took the pressure of the family, yourself, everyone from Brand's great company have taken up so much pressure for the family. Bran was an amazing kid. He was, even when I got divorced, I had to share his bedroom for a little while. Being 30 years old, sharing your bedroom with your 8-year-old nephew, it was a surreal experience, but Bran didn't complain. He never complained, not once.
He loved it, that's why.
And something that I want to aspire to be, because I'm not as strong as he was. I'm not. He wouldn't be crying now. I never see him cry. I went to the hospital. I stayed with him one night at the hospital to give some relief to both sets of his parents. And he didn't cry. He didn't ask. I think he still wanted to get up to go to the toilet. We sat down and watched every Hobbit film, one after the other. He didn't complain once, unless there was a nurse in the room. He didn't want to give his name. Why do I have to give my name? But doing that for him and being allowed to do that for him, it's been a pleasure. And he couldn't have had better parents. 2 sets of parents. 2 sets of parents that you never find it in this world. 2 sets of parents are best friends. I don't understand it. How do you do it? Like I say, I haven't prepared anything. No.
Teutonic Iron Will, it's called.
Right, Norse mythology states that Valhalla is reserved for those that die in battle, and that the bravest who die in battle. Metaphorically, Bran did die in battle, and I like to believe that's exactly where he is now. And exactly, he's waiting for us. He's waiting for his dad, who he was so close with, his mum, who he loved very much, his brothers, everyone in his family that he loved so much. I only wish that I had more time to spend with him, but I always thought there'll be more time. But take this as a lesson, that there's never more time. Do it today. Thank you.
Whoever with a weapon could grab one. Sorry. Good. I've printed out the last words of Human Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves. Listen closely, brothers, for my life's breath is all but spent. There shall come a time far from now when our chapter itself is dying, even as I am now dying, and our foes shall together to destroy us. Then, my children, I shall listen for your call, in wherever realm of death holds me, and come I shall. No matter what the laws of life and death forbid, at the end I will be there, for the final battle, for the wolf time, for Bran! For Bran! Thank you.
The death of each of us is in the order of things. It follows life as surely as night follows day. We can take the tree of life as a symbol. The human race is the trunk and branches of this tree, and the individual men and women are the leaves, which appear one season, flourish for a summer, and then die. But while we live, we are conscious of the tree's flowing sap and steadfast strength. We are a part too of the whole, the collective consciousness of humanity. And every one of us makes a unique contribution, be it never so small. The physical reality of Brand has gone, but the tree remains, and it is greater because of his life. So it shall be for us also. While we are here, our task is to live our lives fully, to seek happiness, and to love each other. This is what Brand would want for us all. Yes, mourn the passing of a boy who meant so much to us all, but then smile in remembrance and go forward into a world without him. Make the adjustments You need to, now he is not here, but live your lives well and live them fully. Our lives have been richer for him having been a part of them, and he would want that, the best, for us all. We have been remembering with love and gratitude a life that was most important and honouring life itself. What can I do to mark this moment, you may ask? You can help, support and love those who remain. You can allow them to cry, to grieve, to laugh and to remember. Grief takes its own time to work itself through, but it is always easier with friends and family and those who will allow it to be what it needs to be. You can honour your own feelings, maybe today, maybe in 6 months' time, and you can bless each day that you live and live it to the full in honour of life itself. We take life so very much for granted, but it is the greatest gift we have. The Norse were great storytellers and loved nothing better than to gather and listen to the tales of their great heroes. Bran loved the Norse and Viking way, and to us, his courage and his valour in battling his illness bravely and steadfast makes him a true hero to us all, and a great warrior. So let me tell you the tale of Brand, the young warrior who fought the enemy bravely, who never gave up fighting, who never gave quarter to the invisible enemy, a warrior that fought right up unto the end. Now the hero Brand passed peacefully from this world on the 7th of April, surrounded by those who loved him most. He travels now from Midgard and has embarked on a great adventure. His soul now travels the road to Hel, the Viking land of the dead. Here he may meet Baldur, son of Odin, who may guide him to the court at Urdswell, where all warriors are judged by Odin himself. This brave warrior, this young wolf, will be found worthy by the gods, as he fought well with honour, and before him will appear the rainbow bridge that crosses from Hel to Valhalla, where he will sit with the Norse gods and heroes of the past. This is Bran's destiny, and may he travel well. Please stand and take with you the prayer, and when I give you the nod, I want everyone to say the prayer together. It is time now to let Brand go. And I ask his Uncle Alan to step forward and cut the cord that represents the umbilical cord that symbolises this life, and once cut, will allow Bran to travel beyond this world. Please take up the prayer and read together. Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother and my brothers and my sisters. Lo, there do I see the line of my people back to the beginning. Lo, they call me. They bid me take my place among them in the halls of Valhalla, where thine enemies have been vanquished, where the brave shall live forever. Nor shall we mourn, but rejoice for those that have died the glorious death. Hail to Bran!
Hail Bran!
Hail Bran!
After Bran's farewell service, everyone was invited to the wake. More loving support to Bran's family was given at a very difficult time.
Let wind blow, let fire burn, let sea rise to greet sky, let sun warm, let moon cool, for all the earth to breathe. Let songs speak, let hearts break, let tears flow in heartache, let war take, let love heal for all on earth to breathe. Let wind blow, let fire burn, let sea rise to greet sky, let sun warm, let moon cool, for all the earth to breathe. Daylight, long fall, as shadows call. Let truth stand tall, for love's soft call for all. Let stars shine, let souls fly, let dawn break before us. Let day grow, let night fall, for all the earth, for all on earth to breathe. Let wind blow and fire burn, let sea rise to greet sky, let sun warm and moon cool, for all the earth to breathe.
A man can never die as long as his name is spoken. So this is the end of my film. I, like so many others, are very humbled to have contributed in a small way. But all of these small acts of kindness make one big act of kindness, and I know how much it has meant to Bran's family. Bran is certainly not going to be forgotten by his family or all of us from around the globe who came together at a time of need.